The core three are back. No offense to Drew, obviously. We love Drew, but if you are a cult follower of this little channel we got going here, you'll recognize this man, one of the founding members, Mr. Film Stock himself, Chris Bowie.
Yeah.
Needs no introduction.
To quote Tony Stark, "Oh, it's good to be back." Oh, man.
Yeah.
I'm excited to talk some ball today, fellas. It's going to be fun.
Absolutely.
Definitely. Got me and Brandon here as well, ready to get back into it, do our thing. Continuing with conference previews for the 2024 season. Today, we're going, well, I was going to say the Northeast, but not so much anymore. Kind of all over now. We're going to, of course, the Big Ten. Without further ado, just to remind everybody of the categories we're going with, we're going best newcomer, dark horse, best offense, best defense, your conference championship matchup, and your champion. So, 6 categories there, unless I can't count. That's 6. Anything else before we jump into it? Any?
I'm about to slander some team, and someone's going to be upset, so just brace yourselves if you're from the Northwest.
I'm ready for the hot takes. I'm all here for it.
Hell yeah. All right. Well, without further ado, I think we can get started. The first category we have is Best Newcomer. So, just to remind everybody, the 4 Big Ten newcomers for the 2024 season are UCLA, USC, sorry, I can't speak, Washington, and Oregon. So, what do we think? Those Pac-12,
Pac-12 leftovers, yeah.
Teams.
I mean, seemingly there's a very popular answer that's like the overwhelming, oh, it's got to be this team. I don't have that team, but I want to hear you guys talk about them first. I really do. Okay. I really do.
He's like, I know that they went with him, so let's just have them get that out of the way.
Yeah, let's hear it. Please, please.
The fanboys. I wore the right color today to debate you.
Mm-hmm.
So,
oh, man.
I guess I can go first.
Go for it.
I prepared a little something. I was going to save it because I have them written down for another category. So, Oregon, obviously, coached by Dan Lanning, heir apparent, has hit the portal quite hard this offseason. They've got Dylan Gabriel at quarterback, obviously, Tez Johnson, Trayshawn Holden at the wide receiver, and then Jordan James is a true sophomore, I believe, at the running back position. And, Lanning's got the recruiting machine going, got some defensive pieces. I think they're going to come into the Big Ten and look to dominate. Mm-hmm. So I think just comparing them with the 3 other teams, I think they're a shoo-in for the best newcomer, at least this season in their first year in the conference. So
yeah. I'll go ahead and get mine off and then let Chris do his thing. I also am going to take Oregon here. If Washington didn't get so shelled, I might be able to make an argument for them. But losing DeBoer and Penix and Odunze and all their pieces to the draft, there's not really much of an argument. And looking at teams like Cal and USC, I'm not really super compelled. Maybe for a year or 2 ago I could have made an argument for USC, but they've fallen off pretty heavily in my opinion. I'm honestly surprised that Lincoln Riley is still there. So we'll see what happens for them. But with Oregon, they're returning, like Noah said, a lot of good players. They dipped into the portal. They perform well there. I think Dylan Gabriel is going to perform well in that offense, spread it out, slinging around the yard, and I think they're going to do quite well in the Big Ten. We'll talk about them more, obviously, later in this video. But, Chris, I want to hear your argument about the team that you have.
Yeah, so for me, in terms of newcomer to this conference, I got to take the Washington Huskies. I know there was some dismissal of the Huskies there, Mr. Nash, and that's fine. I get it. But this team's coming off a natty appearance. Granted, they did lose, some star players. They lost DeBoer, but they got Jed Fish, coach of Arizona. This team was down bad, down tremendously for seasons. They went 10-3 last year, so they had a pretty impressive turnaround with Jed Fish. I like the way he's coming in with Washington. Who's their quarterback, you might ask? Will Rogers, baby. The gunslinger from Miss State. Do I have full confidence in him? No. But I think the kid can sling it. He's proven that, and maybe, that style of offense suits him a bit more out west. And yeah, I mean, just coming off a Natty appearance, I think they really will be counted out this season, but they still got guys. The defense, I don't know their names, all right, but I trust their defense, and I think Washington's going to be a problem in terms of Newcomer. Oregon's the obvious answer, but I got some emotion stirred up about Washington, if you will. So I trust the Huskies. I really do, as the newcomer of the conference.
Not a sexy pick.
Not at all.
No,
but a pick nonetheless.
A pick.
I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
My concern with them is their defense. I don't know, honestly, with Washington, because like you said, Will Rogers he proved it in the SEC. He's a really good player. It's just, can that defense defend and their schedule? I'm not familiar.
Yeah, I'm not up to par on that. I looked at it. I don't think they do not pull Ohio State. I want to say, which is nice. I could be wrong there. They got Oregon to end the season, and I want to say they have Michigan on that schedule as well, potentially Penn State, but they don't play Ohio State. I don't believe, which is huge for them, especially out in that conference. That's like the Alabama or Georgia, the SEC. You don't want to mess around with them. Yeah. So,
kind of skimming it. Oregon, Penn State, USC, Iowa, Michigan, Rutgers, just name a few.
It seemed like they didn't have as daunting of a task as someone like Oregon or Ohio State, because they both got some brutal schedules for sure.
Yeah. They play each other.
They do. Yeah. They do.
Week 3.
Yeah, I kind of want to go off on Oregon, but I can wait.
Yeah, let's wait because I've pulled an audible. I had them in some other sections, but I talked myself out of it. So I think
we're evolving as we go. Yeah.
We'll save that.
Yes, we are. We are like butterflies. We metamorphosize. Yes. That's not a word, but we do it. All right. Moving on to what should be a very intriguing category. I think we're gonna have some different thoughts on this category. At least this would be dark horse. Now, I believe the Big Ten is up to 16 teams. Obviously, you got your front runners, the Ohio States, the Oregons of the world, but they get all the shine regularly. But let's talk about some teams that probably, aren't getting the hype that they need to be getting. So, Chris, we'll start with you, man.
Very nice. So, to me, the dark horse, this team defines dark horse. It's USC. And the reason being is they have underperformed greatly under Lincoln Riley, and I feel like it's now or never. This is a prove-it year, and I feel like Lincoln Riley's going to dig into his bag of tricks and pull out some of that 2017 magic here and maybe have a surprise run at maybe even making the conference title, as crazy as that might say. But who's their quarterback? I wrote it down. It's Moss Miller. Moss Miller threw for 372 and 6 tutties in their bowl game versus Louisville. He can sling it. And USC is always going to have offense. It doesn't matter who the coach even is. Even in their down years, they could put up points. They will not have a defense. They'll have guys on the field. That doesn't mean they will have a defense. So they're going to get scored on. But if they can outscore, they can contend in every single one of these games on their schedule. So I think they're a dark horse team. If they get hot offensively, we might see some magic.
That's a very good pick because the more I think about it, the Big Ten is one of those conferences where, defense is their MO.
Yeah.
And on the flip side of that, the offense, you look at Iowa, Illinois, Wisconsin, a lot of these teams haven't really gotten with, the trend of modern college football, which is the air raid, we're going to throw the hell out of the ball. So it'll be interesting to see, if they can have success with these traditional Big Ten powers.
Mm-hmm. And again, all it takes is one game to knock off a top dog and you're automatically a dark horse. So we'll see. I think they'll have a big upset. I don't know who, but I feel like they're going to cause problems for somebody.
Yeah, I could definitely see them beating a few teams they probably shouldn't beat. And, the Big Ten isn't really used to that West Coast style of football. So could be good for the Trojans.
Oof.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
I like that. Brandon, you want to take
I'll
it or
take
should
it.
I go ahead?
I'll take it. So this team, I guess you could call them a dark horse. They're the perennial non-offensive powerhouse in the Iowa Hawkeyes. My main reason for this pick is their schedule. It's pretty favorable for the Hawkeyes. Looking at it, they pull, as far as newcomers go, they pull Washington and they pull UCLA. So you don't have to play Oregon. You don't have to play USC, which are the better two teams in the respective states, areas, I would say. Personally, running it down real quick, I'm just going to go team by team, the highlights. You have Iowa State, Troy, Minnesota, Ohio State, Washington, Michigan State, Northwestern, Wisconsin, UCLA, Maryland, and Nebraska. So their biggest game is at Ohio State. Probably going to be a loss, right? But one loss gets you in the conference championship. Iowa has had a historic defense. That's what they've leaned on whenever they've had success over the past few years. I think they'll continue to do that. Offensively speaking, I can't say much to that. This is really more of a defensive side of the ball pick. They do have Cade McNamara at quarterback, so take that how you will. I don't know if that's a super big positive, but it's a name you probably haven't heard in a while, so we'll see what they can cook up. I don't know. I believe they've had the offensive coordinator, I think, was the head coach's son. I don't know if that's still the case, but maybe if they can cook something up on offense and stay how they have been on defense, I think they could make a run at the conference championship with that schedule. Like they usually do. They always hang around, and I think they might have a leg up on some of those teams out west that maybe haven't seen a defense like that in the Pac-12. But you could spin that either way. I just said, they might have success because the defense hasn't seen them air it out like that. So we'll see. But I'm pretty confident in Iowa making it pretty far in the season and being in the conversation for conference championship.
Okay, I like that. I can get behind that. I think with the defense that Iowa's had the past, we'll call it a decade, honestly, under Ferentz, I think we've said this for forever, if they could get an offense, they would be a force to be reckoned with in the Big Ten. Mm-hmm. I like the pick. I think you said they had McNamara still, right?
McNamara.
I don't know if he's a starter.
I think
Okay.
I was looking at the depth chart. I believe this is his year to start. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments,
Okay.
but I believe it is him. So we'll see what he can do. I mean, I feel like it's more of a scheme issue, to be honest. But if they're scoring touchdowns on defense, it can make up for it. Who knows?
I mean, yeah, if they could score 4 defensive or special teams touchdowns a game, I think they'd be a problem. I just have no faith in their offense ever. Mm-hmm. Oh man, that'll be interesting though.
Yeah,
that's true. All right. Well, I've been over here in a fit because I had a team picked out and I backed off of it the last second. I was going to pick Rutgers. I like Rutgers. Rutgers, Schiano. I don't know. I just was thinking about it a little bit more, and their pass offense isn't very good, but I'm quite literally flipping to a team with another horrid pass offense, and that's the Wisconsin Badgers. I'm going with Wisconsin, surprisingly. Luke Fickell in his second year as head coach. They got Tyler Van Dyke in the transfer portal. Yeah. So I played with them in College Football 25 last weekend, actually against you, Chris. So
yeah,
their secondary is good. I like their secondary. They top 10, I would argue, in college football secondary wise, but it's yet to be seen if the quarterback can put it together. Obviously, last year in Miami didn't go very well for Mr. Van Dyke, but it's looking like they're going to be my pick. Out of conference, obviously they pull Alabama. And at home, and probably a night game. I'm curious to see what they can do because Alabama might be caught in like a look-ahead spot because they play Georgia 2 weeks later. But taking a look at the rest of their schedule, I'll call out some key matchups. They pull Oregon on November 16th, but other than that, they got Minnesota, Nebraska, Iowa, Penn State, USC. So not that bad. I think they'll be in pretty much every game they play. So I think if they can flip a couple of those and, run away with them, I think we got a real chance to be looking at a playoff team here.
I mean, I'm really excited to see what the spread is. It might even be out, the spread for Wisconsin-Bama. I would love to see if that's single digits or not. Because if it is, I don't know. That's tempting because I think that's going to be a close one. We saw Bama go to USF last year. Granted, it was raining, and it was like a real bad game for them mentally. But on the road, Bama struggles often, I would say.
Mm-hmm. All right. It's out. The spread right now is Alabama minus 9.5.
Ooh, okay. I had that in my head, like a 10 to 8 range. I will keep an eye on that.
Big noon kickoff in Madison.
If they get pressure on Milrow, make him win it with his arm. I'm not saying he doesn't have an arm. That's not what I'm saying. I think they could have success.
Yeah.
They got to contain him because he's OP, at least in the video
OP.
game.
Dude, it's so unfair.
Definitely.
Which, I mean, it's not even that far off reality. He's good. He's a good quarterback. So
Quite good.
Yeah.
Is he as good as any of the quarterbacks on the offenses in this conference, though?
Ooh. Doing my job.
Transition. Love it. Oh, man.
Man. But yeah, next is the best offense for the Big Ten. I'm going to mix it up. Brandon, why don't you take us away?
Yeah. I haven't talked about him too much here. So I'm going to shine a light on a team that we haven't talked about too much so far, and that is Ohio State. I think it's one of the more obvious picks here for the best offense. They have their biggest issue last year was the quarterback position in Kyle McCord, and they have gone out and they got Will Howard to fill that spot, and you have Quinshon Judkins and you have Emeka Ibuka coming back. I think they are loaded, and we'll talk about them more later in the conference championship matchup, I'm sure, at least for some of us. But they're loaded on both sides of the ball. They return a lot of starters. I don't know. I think between them and Oregon, for me, was the choice. And I'm just a little more confident in Ohio State, especially dipping into the portal, getting a guy like Judkins. I think they're going to be a very, very exciting offense to watch in the Big Ten.
Is that what you had too, Chris?
I have Ohio State. I mean, how could you not,
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, Judkins and Travion Henderson alone kind of carry a lot of that weight, but you hit the nail on the head with the quarterback spot. That was something that was lacking for them. And then you've got Ibuka, staple of other receivers. I mean, they're going to be a problem, a real problem for some defenses. So, got to be like consensus best offense.
Yeah. I will add the wide receiver pipeline is well established and it continues. True freshman coming in, Jeremiah Smith, one of the top players in this past recruiting cycle. So, yeah, he's going to be a stud. And, with Emeka Ibuka taking, the eyes in the slot, like he's going to be so good and they're going to be so hard to stop. So, yeah, might be a problem for our home team this season, but that'll be further on down the line. Maybe we'll have a playoff prediction video.
If Will Howard balls out, I don't know, man. That offensive side of the ball alone is just absolutely nuts. Because I forgot about Travion Henderson there for a second until you said it, Chris, and I'm like, damn. So they have Judkins, Travion Henderson, and Ibuka. I mean, that's.
Dude, I saw some depth charts that were projecting Judkins to be RB2 behind Travion.
Really? Yeah, I mean, they're both damn good running backs. So yeah.
They got a Chubb Michelle situation for real.
Yeah, that's
honestly.
nasty, dude.
It all comes down to coaching. I'm sure we'll talk about that when we get to later.
That's going to be the highlight of maybe some arguments about Ohio State.
Just watch him still throw the ball 3 times a game.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That's wild. All right. So I think, consensus pick for best offense. Moving on to the defensive side of the ball, where I also think there will be some similarities. I mean, I can start off.
Go
on
for
this
it.
one. I will take, like we were talking about earlier, the best defense in the Big Ten in the past decade, Iowa. I mean, I think they're kind of a shoe-in. Ferentz, does not know what a forward pass is, but he can coach the hell out of the defense. So, I mean, you give them even an average offense in the past 10 years, I think we're talking about at least one Iowa national championship, which is wild to say about any team, let alone, little old Iowa. So I think they're a shoo-in for best defense of the Big Ten this season. So I'm curious to hear what you guys think.
I actually have a different pick.
Ooh.
Yeah, okay. So things get kind of spicy here. I am taking the Michigan Wolverines. Reason being, according to their fans, they had the best defense in all of football last year. And a good chunk of those guys are returning. Obviously, they had, tons of draft picks. Almost broke a record, I want to say, but someone else still has that, I want to say. Who knows? But Michigan, tons of guys returning. I'm trying to look it up real quick. It looks like they have, let's see. So in the front six, they have Mason Graham, who's a DT. Dude's a beast. But they have, I forget, he's one of the highest rated players on NCAA, number 2. He's like a safety or a corner. You know what I'm talking about? Will Johnson, I want to say his name is.
Yeah.
So they have some veterans returning. Plus, Michigan has been defensively stout for a while. I think of like visuals in my brain. When they're playing Penn State, Penn State runs the ball up the middle, Met, loss of 1, Met, loss of 2, then they have to just do a Drew Aller desperation pass. It's like I have visions last year of that Michigan defense just terrorizing people. Even Ohio State, when they had, Maserati Marv. And so, to me, Michigan's still going to have some beasties on defense. And so, hard to bet against them. I think they're the best defense in the conference last year, so I'll ride with them this year, if you will.
I don't know, man. No Connor Styles this year.
They got to play clean and fair football. We'll see how it worked out for them. That'll be fun, though. Michigan.
Yeah, well.
They're going to be a very interesting team to watch, and if anything, they're going to have to lean on that defense to kind of fill in the gaps of what they lost on the offensive side of the ball. So I like it, but I think piggybacking off what I said earlier with my argument about Iowa for dark horse, that kind of goes hand in hand with the defense. So I'm going to stick with them. Noah already talked about that pretty in depth. But to bring up some names, we have a lot of returners here. Linebackers Jay Higgins and Nick Jackson are coming back, and then so their biggest departure, looking through it, was probably Cooper DeJean, the biggest name out of Iowa in a while. But they're getting back cornerback Jamari Harris and DB Sebastian Castro, and they're bringing back 4 other rotational pieces in the front 7. They're not losing too much, and with how they play football, it's with a heavy emphasis on the defensive side of the ball. If they're going to do anything well, it's going to be play defense, even if that means sacrificing offensive output. So I would go with them. It's kind of low-hanging fruit. It's kind of obvious, but I'm going to pick that. I also do like Michigan, though. Chris, that was a good argument. I think they're going to have to lean on their front 7 to keep them in it this year. I haven't seen their schedule, but I'll be interested to see if they can even make a push to be in the Big Ten championship.
Yeah.
I mean, such a stacked conference. I feel like they're going to beat each other up this year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they are. One last thing on Iowa. Wake up, babe. New white.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking of that. I couldn't find him. Yeah.
John Nestor, I believe. This Dove Kleeman says he's a starter. I don't know about that.
That guy's kind of weird. Dove,
yeah,
but
we have a new favorite white boy. White boy summer. No, I'm kidding.
Love it.
That's a joke. Don't take that seriously. But yeah, I think that's a good way to put a bow on it. Go Iowa. Go Michigan. I guess. Yeah. Go Big Blue, baby. Hell yeah. But yeah, should be a very stout defensive conference, but with this day and age in college football, it's all about the offense. And only the teams who have both can make it to the conference championship game, which we will be previewing right now. So, would anyone like to start with their conference championship matchup?
I want to hear Chris's.
All right.
I want to hear it badly. Go for it.
I think we had a conversation off camera last weekend about this specifically, and I was kind of going off, saving some of that for here. But I think an obvious pick to make this game is Ohio State, and I think they will be in the game. They're probably the strongest team in that conference, in my opinion, offensively out of this world. They got Caleb Downs on defense now, so they got some beasts there, like I mentioned. So again, Ohio State is going to that game. Who is Ohio State playing in this game? Popular pick's going to be the Oregon Ducks. I am saying we're getting a rematch of the game. Give me the Michigan Wolverines to play Ohio State in the Big Ten Championship. And here's why. The hardest game on Michigan's schedule is Week 2, Texas, non-conference game. They lose that, they're still smooth sailing. They could still lose one of their difficult conference games and still make this game. They got Oregon at home. They've got at Washington. I mean, I know I made an argument for Washington earlier in this video as in terms of Newcomer. That's a very winnable game, however. Their hardest game at Ohio State, frightening, right? They own them. They've won the past 3. So, I mean, it's really not that scary for them anymore. The mental battle for the Michigan Wolverines is gone when it comes to Ohio State. They have the edge mentally. I think Michigan finds a way. They fight to get back to this game. It's not going to be ugly. I think they're going to have some low-scoring, ugly wins. But Michigan's going to get there. They're going to play Ohio State. Do you want me to say who wins?
Go for it. That's
Yeah,
what we
go
did
ahead.
last week. Yeah.
All right.
As well. Yeah.
Ohio State. I wanted to kind of, I think there's a world where Michigan wins the regular season matchup, which is what I think is going to happen. Way too early prediction. And then I think Ohio State gets them back the next week. Revenge. And that's that. But the game 2 weeks in a row, that will be historic if we get it.
This one is in the shoe, right?
Yes. It's at Ohio State this year.
Okay. Yeah, thought so, because, weren't we in the big house last year? Okay. I think I like that. Yeah, that would be, like you said, historic, because not a lot do we see, two teams play each other, and then the very next week in the conference title game with everything on the line.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean,
they rematch.
Up until recently, it hasn't been possible, being in the same side of that conference. So it's exciting having it open to that. I mean, I feel like that's the way it should have been for a while now.
Definitely.
I don't know. I can get the allure of having the different divisions within the conferences, but I'm having it founded so far back as opposed to now. You can really see how those teams have changed and evolved, and it's not really fair if you have your best two teams in the same side of the conference.
That's true.
But
yeah. Brandon, with that, you wanna preview your conference championship?
Yeah, dude.
matchup?
I'm trying not to be a basic bitch here, but I might have to be, because honestly, I'm looking at Oregon's schedule, and I just don't really see any kind of way that they don't make the conference championship. They pull Ohio State at home, and then you have Michigan on the road. Mr. Bowie has made a compelling argument for Michigan, so I'm excited to watch him this upcoming year. I've kind of written him off a little bit, so we'll see if that's wrong. But outside of that, I mean, you have Washington the final week, and then you have your core Big Ten, former Pac-12 team. Opponents, they pull UCLA, they don't play USC. I don't know, man. I think they're itching to get back to a conference championship. With the year they had last year, losing twice to Washington, kind of leaving something to be desired. I do think that they are going to put it together on the offensive side of the ball. This is obviously all very heavily dependent on Dylan Gabriel and how he performs in that Dan Lanning system. I don't know who their offensive coordinator is, but I'm sure it's whoever that is system, because Dan Lanning is a defensive guy. But heavily dependent on him, but I think they return a lot of talent, and I think they're going to make a run at it. And then I have Ohio State. I mean, it's hard to pick against them in really anything this year. And this is where we get into the Ryan Day talk, because let me tell you, if Ryan Day does not, I'm trying to think of a benchmark. I'm going to say even if he doesn't win the conference, he should be not fired, but he should be close to it. And now if they don't make the conference championship, he should be fired. This is the most on a silver platter. You have so many returners coming back. You have a stud out of the transfer portal. You have two of the best running backs in the nation. You could argue 1 and 2 potentially. You have so much talent that if you're not at least making that game, there's something wrong. They're my lock. I'm just iffy on Oregon, but I think I like them there in their first year in the Big Ten. And then I have Ohio State winning it. I don't know. We're going to see. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch Ohio State. I think the only people that can really beat them are themselves this year. It's just, it seems too good to be true on paper. Looking at it, they're insanely loaded on both sides of the ball. Because surprisingly, defense was a strong suit last year because of Kyle McCord and that whole offensive situation. And I believe they lost minimal starters last year to the draft. A lot of guys got together, said they were coming back, and that's what they did. So I think they're going to ball and win the Big Ten and have a first-round bye in the 12-team playoff.
Ooh,
I like it.
Yeah.
I actually have the exact same thing, Brandon. I have Oregon, Ohio State, with Ohio State taking it. I'll try not to beat a dead horse, but I'll try to add value where I can. Will Stein is the OC of Oregon.
There you go.
He's one of the top paid OCs in the country. I mean, quick Google search. Turned Bo Nix into the number 12 overall pick. So, he's got to be worth something. And especially with Dylan Gabriel coming in after kind of a dare I say, a lackluster season at Oklahoma, looking to kind of rewrite some narratives for his career to make the jump to the next level. And on the other side, looking at Ohio State, like we've said, loaded does not even begin to cover it. AB, 1A, 1B sort of situation at running back. Caleb Downs coming in on the defensive side to an already loaded secondary. Are you kidding me?
Nasty. I forgot about him. Nasty.
They're going to be disgusting on both sides of the ball. But yeah, like you said, I have Ohio State winning it. And I guess with the Ryan Day stuff, I mean, any case they don't have like a first round bye into the playoff, like forget about, the postseason ramifications for a second. If they're like either hosting a first round playoff game or traveling, God forbid, traveling somewhere else to play a first round playoff game, I think they need to take a long look in the mirror because, oh my God, this is, it's up there with, dare I say, 2021 Georgia on both sides of the ball. Like, they got studs at every position.
And to me, Brandon, you said it's like it could be too good to be true. I believe you said that. If not, I'm gonna say it because I feel like it is one of those instances where there's so much preseason hype around a team that like I want to bet against them winning it all because I just feel like it becomes a mental battle at that point. And college football, no matter how much the game changes, one thing remains true: it's filled with surprises any given Saturday. And so I don't know. A lot of people will say Ohio State's going to cakewalk win the Natty, and I just can't buy in on that. They still have to get over the hump that is Michigan, and people forget that. By the time that game rolls around, it's going to be big time. Regarding Oregon, if I may, I think to be the man, you got to beat the man, all right? Oregon's coming into a new conference, and everyone just wants to say, oh, they're going to the conference title. They got to beat some veteran teams to do that. They go to Michigan, and people act like that's a gimme. They go to Wisconsin, the bounce house, late November. It's going to be a rocking environment.
Is it the bounce house? I thought UCF was the bounce house.
Honestly,
I believe.
I think it's kind of a Death Valley sort of battle. I don't know. But they do the jump around thing. I do know that much, which is kind of lame. But whatever it is. And then they've got at Oregon State. Rivalry game early in the season. Oregon State. Probably a little mad about the Pac-12 disappearing. So exciting matchups on the schedule. They also pull Washington in a big rivalry game. And I would be terrified to play Washington if I'm Oregon because they went 0-2 against them last year. And Dan Lanning, man who loves to, run his mouth out there. They think they're all that. He hasn't really proven it. He hasn't proven it at Oregon so far. Let's not forget the whooping he took in the big game versus Georgia in 2022. Seemingly, they haven't won many big games. They did beat the glorified varsity high school that is Colorado last year, and that put them on the map more than they deserve to be. But I don't buy into this Oregon hype. I don't know why I should. If they didn't get there with Bo Nix, who's a better quarterback than Dylan Gabriel, I don't think they're going to get there with Dylan Gabriel. They lost a lot of guys. Oregon won't be in the conference title. I'm gonna say that with confidence. Oregon will not be in the conference title.
Who's at fault? Is it the defense that folds when it shouldn't, or is it on the shoulders of the quarterback?
I think it's on the coaching. I've seen Lanning make so many foolish mistakes. I will never forget his inability to just kick a field goal in that first regular season game versus Washington. He does think it's very Lane Kiffin, where it's like, oh, I just got to attack, and it comes back to bite him in the ass too often. And so I think he'll make a few mistakes in a big game. It could be that Michigan game. It could be any of them. And they'll lose, and then that will be the difference. It'll literally be his coaching. Because I think they have all the talent to score, those points. But, I don't know. It's about the coach to me.
Yeah.
Dare I say Ohio State Week 3 in Eugene?
He could lose that game.
He could.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. So it'll be a riotous environment, but still, I don't know. Oregon, I don't buy in on fully. They're going to be a good team, though.
Yeah. I think an immense amount of talent, and we've heard this offseason, Phil Knight has essentially opened his pocketbook, unlimited, blank check resources. Like, I think in a few years, I think they're a little early this year to really take control of the Big Ten and make a deep playoff run, but we might be talking here in the next 3 years or so.
We could definitely see that happen. I mean, I think Lanning, bit fraudulent, could be a career coordinator at best. But this is a prove-it year for him. If he could win a big game, that would be huge. If he loses them all, like if they go 8-4, I don't know what the conversation is then. That would just be like, ooh, bad look.
Kind of the narrative around Kirby before he won his first one.
Yeah.
Fair.
No, I think he needs to get over that because I think losing twice to Washington last year pretty unacceptable. I know he's early on in his head coaching days, but you always hear how hard it is to beat a team twice. And I remember going into that conference championship, I'm like, they're not going to lose to Washington twice. They're probably going to beat them. And they didn't. So, obviously he has an interesting head coaching style. He needs to pull it together and keep it tight. But I think they have a decently favorable schedule to do that. I don't think they're going to win it, but I think they've got a damn good shot to be in the conference title.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
Yep.
It'll be fun with all the new teams.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. And I honestly think that's a perfect way to leave
Yeah.
it. Puts a bow on it, nice and neat. If you like this sort of content, be sure to leave a like. Consider subscribing. We love talking football. We are just under or just over a month away.
We're right about a month, yeah.
Actually, 3 weeks
right?
from
It's
week
week
0.
zero.
Yeah.
Week 0.
3 weeks. I believe it's like
Tech,
24,
FSU.
25 days.
Mm-hmm.
Tech, FSU, in Ireland.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a blast. And we'll be there every step of the way. So if you're rocking with us, drop a like. We'll be back next week previewing another conference. If you have any preferences, leave it below. We'll pick the top comment. We'll do whatever they say.
We're already halfway through, so you only have two
Flight to
choices.
Dublin.
Flip a coin. Yeah.
Yep. Pack 2 preview coming. No, I'm kidding. They might be worth like a 10-minute video. I don't know. But yeah, we enjoyed making this content, and see y'all in the next one.